Brad Stevens getting creative with his contracts and this Svi Mikhailuk deal. Plus, Jayson Tatum doing something we all love, working out extensively with Paul Pierce. We're going to talk about it all right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Boston, baby, we do what you can't. Locked on number 18, Tatum and Brown, J-Team, step back. We gon' wet that and slay teams. Of course, the Celtics, who else could it be? Screaming like KG with the Larry O.B. Karalis above average, assessing the team status. Best daily pod, no cap, salary matching. Clutch like Bird the DJ, keep John on replay. Prime time, dapping up the truth on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. B.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I'm here for you Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the next 2 weeks. Then in that third week, back to 5 days a week, baby, because NBA basketball is right around the corner. So make sure you're subscribed. Get that podcast dropped directly to your device. It's fresh, it's free, and it's for you everywhere podcasts exist. And on YouTube, hop into the comment section. You know what to do. I'm John Karalis. I played ball a long time ago. Now I am paid to cover the Boston Celtics and write and talk about the Boston Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. Today, we're going to be talking about Jayson Tatum and Paul Pierce getting together for multiple workouts. These two are linking up, and I mean, I can't. We're basically going to gush about this for a little while. But I saw the guarantees for the Svi Mikhailuk deal, and I said, Brad Stevens is up to some interesting GMing. And so I decided to bring my buddy, my friend, my pal, Tom Westerholm.
Hey.
Three
things today.
Three things. You're three things.
I like that.
We're here to how you feeling, Tom?
I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling ready to make everybody happy by not small talking here. I'm ready to go.
We got a little bit, there are people seem to be softening on the small talk. We can. All
right, cool.
They're okay. We'll sprinkle in some of the chit chat because it's what makes us normal robots. We can pretend to be human for a little bit, and then people can, these two mechanisms can actually interact with one another. We're sentient.
AI, yeah. We've.
Emphasis on artificial when it comes to our intelligence. All right, let's just dive in. Let's dive in here because Brad Stevens, I don't want to oversell it, right? Because it's just a bunch of different versions of non-guaranteed deals. But I think when it comes to the current collective bargaining agreement and how to navigate this, second apron and all of that stuff, he's bringing in these guys that are they clearly feel like they're betting on themselves a little bit when they sign these deals, but they're these non-guaranteed. There's these trigger dates where it's not just guaranteed deal, non-guaranteed deal. They're spread out. So, for example, Svi Mikhailuk has a 1-year contract, partially guaranteed. He's going to get $200,000 no matter what.
Right.
1.2 million if he makes the opening night roster, and then another million or so if he makes it to the league-wide guarantee date of January 10th. So Brad Stevens has given himself multiple levels of, if I need to make a deal and I need to cut somebody, I have these guys that I can cut and lessen the impact where it's not the full guarantee. Normally it's like guaranteed, not guaranteed. There's a one date, boom, it's guaranteed. Done. He's got these like little triggers for him, for Delano Banton, for Jordan Walsh. These are guys that all could maybe not make it out of camp, and they have different options. It's just a different way, creative way for Brad Stevens to give himself outs when he's very kind of tightly painting himself through no fault of his own, kind of into a corner with this new contract.
Yeah, and I think to me, the first thing that's interesting to me about it is, right, if you look at Svi's contract, like there's all these little things that you can say with it, right? Like it's like, okay, Svi, you were headed overseas, right? Now you don't have to. Now you can play in the NBA. Like, we're giving you this opportunity, this great opportunity to play in the NBA. You're almost certainly going to make this roster. You're tall, you can shoot, like, you're a lot of things that people are looking for their end of the bench guys. Don't, like, we're going to do some weird stuff with your contracts, but like, chances are you're going to make the roster. Now, if he comes into camp and he doesn't perform well, guys like TJ Warren are still technically out there, right? Like there is a chance where it's like if Shvi just looks like a disaster, if like somebody goes like full Draymond and punches him during camp, like if the whole situation just deteriorates for some reason, like you can be like, call him into your office, like, listen, man, I know you had that option in Greece. I hope you kept that connection because we're gonna probably like not go, and then you can let him go. There's other options out there. There's other wings out there. There's other guys. If that 6'7" type position is really what you're looking for, like I think that makes a lot of sense. I think it kind of works for everybody involved, right? Where Shvi is like, again, he's probably going to make the Celtics roster. Like I see very little chance that he's not going to get at least that 1.2 million, right? Like he's, very good chance he's going to get there. But if he doesn't, kind of a no harm, no foul, right? If he doesn't, he gets paid $200K to go to a training camp and then move on. And, it's just kind of, I think to me, what this says is that, yes, like, Brad is a little bit new to the GM thing, but you can kind of tell that like, it's almost like a fresh perspective on being a GM, right? Because he's just kind of like looking at things and being like, well, could I do this? And, James like, yeah, you could do that. You could have 3 guaranteed dates. Yeah. Sounds good. So,
yeah. I mean, that's, I'm sure, and Brad's going to be the face of this. Who knows who actually said that? Could have been, of course, right? Yeah, like there's like 5 guys in around that table.
It does sound a little Zarany, but yeah.
Like Mike. It's probably like more Mike Zarin, and I'm sitting here putting like Brad Stevens creative contracts on the thing because he's the guy who gets the that's it. Like it's like a chef in a kitchen. You got a bunch of people in there cooking, but there's one chef, right? And he's going to get the credit for everything. So, but
I will say that our chef metaphors have gone up significantly since you started watching The Bear.
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah, that's definite. That's for sure. And I'm known to make cooking metaphor.
That is true.
I'm a very food related, as if people couldn't tell by the larger and larger shirts that I have to wear. But anyway, that's another story. It's tough when you go to your doctor and you're like, should I consider some sort of like, I don't know, medication to help me lose weight? And they don't fight you on it. They're like, no, we have some options for you. And like, oh, damn. All right. Okay. No problem. But anyway, the creativity in just finding these little ways. And I think it also says a lot about what the impact of the CBA is on teams like Boston, because you have to find all of these little ways. Hey, if we can save 200,000 here, or maybe 100,000 here, that could be the difference between second apron, not second apron, right? And you don't know where that is going to come into play, but injury, underwhelming performance, a surprise camp performance where you're like, oh my God, this guy is amazing. We've got to keep this guy. And like or OKC has to cut one of their 50 players on their eye. They have to start making some cuts, and there's going to be some competition for these guys. I think there's just a bunch of, vultures circling around OKC, just waiting to pick off one of those cast-offs that they're going to have to deal with. So Brad is certainly like, hey, we'll give you $200K just to show up. And like, if something weird happens in the NBA and maybe they can use that exception, or maybe they can use some mechanism to kind of claim a player versus wait for him to clear waivers or something. Maybe they just say, hey, sorry, better option came along that we didn't anticipate. Have fun playing in Greece. Here's $200,000 for your troubles, and goodbye. It's like I remember when they did that to Max Strus when Javonte Green was just awesome in the preseason. They were like, you know what, Max, sorry, we're going to upgrade you. We're going to guarantee your contract. Now we're going to cut you so you get a little bit of guarantee because they kind of screwed you out of training camps. And so here's your money and good luck. And so, yeah, if they give Shvi $200,000 and he's on his way, then, hey, good luck. You're on your way. We'll continue this conversation because there's a lot more going on here in just a second. First, today's show was brought to you by our good friends at FanDuel. FanDuel is here with some incredible offers for people who are in for the NFL. NFL season is here. People are chomping at the bit to throw some money down on the NFL. This is a great time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because you just got to bet $5 and you get 200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Win or lose, doesn't matter what you bet it on. Just get in there, bet that money, get your $200 in bonus bets. You can throw those bonus bets on anything. Pick your MVP, pick your player props, pick your, just bet a game, whatever. And hey, if you're a regular customer, you've already been there, you've already been using FanDuel, because why wouldn't you? You can bet your $5 and get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. So now is the absolute best time to join FanDuel. This app is super easy to use. You can bet on anything. I'm telling you, anything. You scroll through. You're going to have almost as much fun just scrolling through and seeing all the bets that are available before you even put your money down. So it's FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's the site you got to visit. FanDuel.com/lockedon. Kick off the NFL season with an offer you do not want to miss. FanDuel is an official partner of the NFL. Just ask you if you're going to do it. Please gamble responsibly. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Again, 3 days a week, coming 5 days a week, strong in a couple of weeks. So make sure you're subscribed. Get that subscribe button right now, wherever you get your podcasts. Share it, tell your friends, get on that YouTube page, all that good stuff. All right, let's get back to the conversation here with Tom Westerholm. And yeah, so as I was saying before, it's an interesting kind of way to do business here, and interesting to see how the Celtics are trying to save, just kind of preparing for any little contingency here and save themselves as much possible money. But because it does signal that, hey, we may need to pounce on something. That's that's part of this whole thing. All of these non-guaranteed deals means we could be doing something else if it presents itself.
Yeah, for a roster that has so much of the top end locked in, right, to be able to have some flexibility on the bottom end is, kind of useful. Like, there's not that much you can do to adjust things, I guess you would say, toward the starters or even like the top of the bench. But I mean, you keep the bottom end flexible. You keep, if you have a couple injuries to one position and heaven forbid, I'll knock on wood for every Celtics fan's sake, but you start to have some problems at the center position with health, and
sure,
maybe you got to go get another set. You give yourself these options to adjust as necessary. That's crucial. This team's hoping to win a championship. You got to have. Things are going to go wrong. It's an 82-game season. Things are going to go wrong. And giving yourself that little bit of an out is nice for sure.
Not only is this team preparing to win a championship, this team is trying to find guys, cheap supporting cast talent for this year, for next year, for the year after. If OKC ends up cutting somebody young and still on a rookie deal that you can claim, that's a possibility. That if you sit there and say, hey, this is a guy we can keep on the end of the bench for now, but we see him as filling a bench role a year from now, 2 years from now. Let's claim him now, get him into our developmental system, and just proceed with that. Maybe there is something that Shvi doesn't. This is his 33% shooting year instead of his 42% shooting year, and you have to go in a different direction. Sure, but if one of these surprise cuts happens and the Celtics aren't in a position to take advantage of that, then you're not doing the job right. And by having all of these guys, Delano Banton, non-guaranteed, Luke Cornett continues to be non-guaranteed, Jordan Walsh still not guaranteed until opening night,
That would be a surprise one.
That would be a surprise. That would be a surprise. But still, it's an option. It's there. But you have a number of guys that if you cut any one of these guys, you're not taking that $2 million hit or million, whatever hit it is after, with some of the, the way the minimums work, you're doing a $200,000 hit, which acceptable, right? It's acceptable. You deal with it. You're like, hey, sorry. And again, the guy gets some money on his way. It shows the creativity.
200,000 is the old. It's really not my money, right? Like that's the one. That's Wick's money. Go ahead. Wick.
Right. I mean, you want to give me 200,000 to do nothing.
Yeah.
Hey, let's.
I'll show up to training camp and puke my guts out doing some of those.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, I'll be like, that guy that showed up at the Pelicans game with the full uniform and just got a few shots. I will do that. For $200,000, hell yes. I think a lot is wrapped up in this, and kudos to this front office. Brad Stevens encompasses the entire front office. Kudos to this front office for finding ways to get creative. I guess my last comment will be, it does show that these guys are on the ball. When you come up with these kind of little creative things, and again, I don't want to overstate it. It's just a bunch of little guarantees, but it's acknowledging everything and putting yourself in the best possible position where other teams may not have done that. And the Celtics put themselves in a position to potentially take advantage of that. It seems like Brad and Zarin and Austin Ainge and that group continue to find the little ways to put themselves in a position to be in that just in case. Hey, here's an option. Let's give ourselves all of these options. And if we don't use them, we don't use them, but we have them. And that is important. And I think it fosters like some trust. Like I see things like this. I'm like, man, I really trust this front office to find the way to get certain things done.
Yeah, and I think that's the point, right? Like you're right. This is like kind of a small thing that they're doing at the end of the bench, but it's part of a larger pattern of this front office making good decisions and being a little creative as well, right? Like, you go back to like Brad just trading that, like just treating the first round pick as a let me go get a good veteran, right? Like let me go get Malcolm Brogdon, let me go get Derek White. That nice little just like, you know what? I just don't need a 20th pick, but somebody else could maybe use that, and I could really use your good player. So please send me your good player, and you can have this guy that might not, because I saw what happened with I tried to coach Romeo Langford, and I just did not need that guy on my roster. So but I think but it's just part of a larger pattern, right? Where it's like this front office doing smart things, making shrewd and kind of interesting decisions. I think that's the big thing to me. It's like, it's just a lot of, I like that. That's good. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. When you make a bunch of good decisions, even if they don't end up being something big, it fosters that trust. And like with anybody, if I trust you in your decision making and you say, let me borrow your car, I'll let you borrow my car.
You're responsible. Yeah.
You're a responsible human being.
I was like, you went out and signed Dennis Schroeder, but then you did a bunch of other good stuff and it was all good, man.
And you corrected that mistake as fast as you possibly could.
No sunk cost fallacy for Brad. Just get this man out of here.
That's right. Like, oh no, this was a bad thing. So we're correcting the bad thing that we did.
Yeah.
Oh man. And you see him yelling at his coach. I mean, I don't want to go down the Schroeder road. I don't want to go down the Schroeder road because that's a whole thing. I'll probably cover that on the Locked On NBA podcast though, because we're doing a whole thing. In fact, let me take a second to say people should be going and checking out the Locked On NBA podcast. Jake Madison and I, Jake's Locked On Pelicans, we're going to be hosting that show together, and we're going to be talking about whether this stuff translates the World Cup. That's what I'm trying to say. Translates to the NBA. We'll talk about that. We're going to do that. So check out the Locked On NBA podcast. Hey, today's show also brought to you by Birddogs. Birddogs stretch khaki shorts designed to fit slimmer through the thigh, giving you that sculpted look Fellas, trust me, you want that sculpted look through the thigh. Birddog shorts do the exact same thing Lululemon shorts do, and not at that same price. It stretches, so you get that slimmer fit without having to sacrifice movement. You know, those other shorts, they get the stiff, restricting cotton, not Birddogs. And they've got that anti-stink, sweat-wicking fabric. You stay cool and dry all day long. You can jump into the pool, come out, dry off. They dry off real quick. You can head on over to the barbecue. You can head on over and play some golf, whatever. Birddogs, functional for any occasion. Now, I'm supposed to show you the Birddogs, but as I've been telling you, the 14-year-old has stolen the Birddogs and is enjoying the hell out of them. So I gotta take a picture, I guess, and show you. But he loves them, and if a 14-year-old loves them, then you know they're good because they won't lie to you. So check out birddogs.com/lockedon NBA. Enter promo code LOCKEDONNBA. Check out for a free Birddogs water bottle with your order. I've gotten a Birddogs travel mug. I've gotten this Birddogs hat, and then you get a water bottle. They can just hit you up with the freebies at birddogs.com/LOCKEDONNBA. Tons of cool stuff to go along with a pair of shorts that you will not want to take off. I can promise you that. All right, let's get into this next topic here. Tom Westerholm, Jayson Tatum working out with Paul Pierce. Multiple videos. I know it's workout video season and all of that. And usually we're doing muscle watch and we're like, oh, wait.
Jayson Tatum's working out with Paul Pierce and Ben Simmons has a jumper. It's that season.
That's right. That's what we're doing. And all we need is Andre Drummond hitting 3-pointers.
That's
and
what we need. Well, we had Rob hitting a 3 earlier this year. Summer,
no,
which
that's
is
true. That's
largely
true.
the same thing.
But the Pierce workout to me, I don't know, man. That one hits different.
I was gonna say that one probably, yeah.
That one hits different because it's like Tatum working out with future Tatum, and it's I want to see Paul like teaching him all the tricks, all the little tricks, because if the one thing about those two guys is they actually have similar builds when they were playing. Big, giant, broad shoulders. Now, no, Tatum's bigger and a little slimmer.
Much
slimmer.
More cut, yeah.
A little slimmer for sure.
Yeah.
But big,
Tatum
wide.
always looks a little more beach ready, I would say.
Okay, sure. But okay. So the beach ready version, but the frame is the same, is my point. Big, broad shoulders, to, tapering down, and Tatum was a master at using his body to get where he wanted. I always talk about how Tatum so many pictures of him, just the way he turns his whole body to a defender and then opens back up wide and just kind of gets that guy. All of a sudden, he went from a little bit in front of him to behind him. And next thing you know, Pierce is living at the free throw line. It's that kind of stuff that I've been dying for oh my God, now I'm juxtaposing all of them. Dying for Jayson Tatum to learn how to do, because if he can manipulate the game and he can kind of use his body to do so, that unlocks yet another level. And I'm one of the people who believes there's probably still at least 1 or 2, maybe 3 different levels of being better that Tatum can unlock. I think there's so much left to unlock in Tatum's game that he's not near what he's going to be at his absolute best, or what his potential is.
Well, and I think the older you get in the NBA, the more your body becomes the thing that you unlock, right? Because when you come into the NBA, you have all your skills and stuff like that, and you have all your stuff, and you improve those, certainly, obviously. I mean, you're a professional basketball player. You're working on them 24/7. It's that you have the best trainers in the world, all that stuff. But you just see guys get more comfortable in their bodies. That just happens the more dad strength, right? It's a thing.
Yeah.
You just get more comfortable in your body. You get more comfortable, doing things. And I mean, I think, Pierce is a great example of that. Like you said, especially foul drawing, right? Tatum, if Tatum, like add all, like he got so much better at it last year. And again, all that body stuff, Tatum did get a lot better at that last year. But, Pierce is a great guy for him to work out with that way. And I mean, look, like, let's just say, like, it's great aesthetically to see, like, for like the Celtics, right? To see like Tatum working out with Pierce is just like, the synergy there. I mean, for one thing, it makes for a great Instagram post, right? It gets the people in the podcasts talking during the off season.
Like that's red meat.
It's red meat. It is a medium rare steak for us to just tear into. But but yeah, I mean, it's good from a basketball perspective. It's extra good from a PR perspective, and I think it's that big win for the Celtics this offseason for sure. Because I think the other thing too, right? It's not that Tatum didn't embrace Boston. It's that I think Tatum takes a few years to. It seems like he kind of he has a small circle, and St. Louis was always his circle, and now it's starting to feel like St. Louis and Boston are being are becoming much more a part of his circle. And it's natural that would take a few years. It's natural that he would kind of want to grow into a place, but it does actually feel like he is kind of organically growing into a place and growing into some of these relationships with stars from the past, stars from Boston's past. So all around, I think big W for the Celtics.
And Pierce has a little kind of, it's not the same experience at all, but there is a growth into the city that Pierce can relay to Tatum.
Yeah,
because Pierce people wanted to trade Paul Pierce, and he had that playoff, I forget what year it is, where after the Indiana Pacers, the wrap around his head looked ridiculous, and butting heads with Doc. So was that 06 or something like that, and it was not
wanted to team up with Kobe.
Yeah, he was part of, and he was part of one of the most embarrassing Team USA performances. He had a rough time, and it was a rough time in the NBA. Like a lot of money had started to come in. The NBA, it was kind of like almost like people the WWE. It's almost like the NBA's attitude era. There was a lot of attitude, man. The vibe kind of shifted in the NBA, and everybody was trying to find themselves. Pierce came in super, super cocky and thought he could do it all himself. And then had that epiphany. He was like, you know what? I have a choice. I can either go or I can stay and buy in. And he stayed and bought in. And he went from nearly outcast to Celtics hero. He became a Celtics legend by sticking around, by winning a championship, and embracing Boston in an entirely new way that he hadn't done fully in the early part of his career. And to Tatum's credit, I mean, Tatum came into a significantly better situation.
Yes.
So he's been in, it's been nothing but playoffs and conference finals and NBA. Like, he's had an incredible run. But to your point, he's, very insular. He's very guarded. He's been kind of guarded, and we're starting to see him open up a little bit, and getting Pierce in his ear more often, I think lets him know a little bit more about, hey, look, if you want it, this immortality is there for you in Boston. It's there.
Yeah.
And I know Tatum wants immortality. He wants that status.
Of course he does, because the man who inspired him to play basketball had that, right? Like, he wanted to be Kobe Bryant, and Kobe Bryant, even before, his tragic passing, had immortality in Los Angeles.
Sure.
Like, he had immortality kind of worldwide, right? Like, he was a worldwide figure, but Tatum can get that in Boston. I think that's something that Pierce, like you said, Pierce can tell him that. Pierce can say, like, dude, I can't walk around Boston. Everybody loves me too much. It's like, what better person to kind of explain to Tatum, like, listen, man, yeah, absolutely. Like, like, I mean, you can, there's a million places you can play that'll be very pleasant around the league, of course, right? Like, yes, Phoenix, wonderful, golfing weather. You're a big golfer, like, great.
Yeah.
You could do that. Like, yeah, I mean, Los Angeles, there's all the trappings that come with that. New York, you could be, in the happening city. But like, listen, man, if you want, if immortality and winning and all that stuff is something that you're interested in, Boston will embrace you hard. Like, you will be their guy. And I mean, Boston's a big market too. That's a good place to be if you want like a lot of eyes and a lot of attention and a lot of success. I mean, just sit them down with sit them down with Ortiz next, right? Like, just kind of like keep the gravy train moving. And I think Tatum will kind of get the picture here. So
it's just no one sticks around forever. So I'm not expecting Tatum to stick around forever. But man, he's in a position to stick around for quite a long time. Next contract.
Yeah. And that's the other, I was going to say that too, with the small circle thing. It also helps that he's also looking ahead and being like, whew, this next contract, I like this city, man. This is this is a good city.
Anybody loves the city that's going to pay him $350 million.
Yeah.
No, do the math, man. You do the math between his endorsements and his basketball money, depending on how long he plays. His career could gross him $1 billion.
It could.
With a $1 billion when you take into account the money, the contracts, the type of money that's coming in, and the fact that he endorses everything. I mean, he's approaching Shaq level of endorsements. He's taking in cash, and I don't blame him for that one bit.
Well,
he could make $1 billion.
Yeah, which and again, the small circle thing, like, his mom made sure, like, it's been like very involved from a young age, like making sure, like, he knew how to do interviews and all that stuff. Like, there's a reason that you have a small circle if you're going to be an NBA star. And a part of that is because you're going to make an exorbitant amount of money. Yeah. And so like, having a small circle is smart too. Like, let's be clear about that. And then especially if you're in a position where you can gross $1 billion in your NBA career.
This has the potential to be kind of a storybook season for Tatum, especially.
It could.
You've got the storylines are kind of lining up. He has the workouts with Jaylen Brown, right? There's the workouts with Paul Pierce. It feels like the narrative is starting to shape up. Tatum's kind of summer of full, like, not that he was ever not fully committed to Boston, but like diving into the deep end of being a Boston Celtic. Marcus Smart is gone, longest tenured Celtic, gone. And he knows the contract that's coming up. He knows the deal that's in front of him, as far as they made this move because they haven't been able to get over the hump. If he turns some kind of corner, right, fixes a couple of things in his game, gets more efficient, gets to the free throw line a bit more, gets out of that weird funk that he was in with the 3-point shooting last year and starts hitting that at a little bit of a higher rate, gets back to defending the way that we know he can defend, doing all of that stuff and really legitimately being an MVP candidate. This is shaping up where you can start the story of Jayson Tatum in August, in July, and carry that thread through all the way through the whole thing. And if he wins a championship in Boston, that, now talk about certified, KG certified, like that, this has the potential to be an amazing story for him.
Especially when you start to tie in some of the statistical stuff where it's like, Larry Bird never scored that many points in a season, right?
Yeah.
Like, this guy, like, he's working out with Paul Pierce, and that's great. And Pierce is an all-time Celtics great, but like, let's be honest here. Like, Tatum's on a trajectory to surpass Pierce's career significantly, right? Yeah. Like, and Pierce is an all-timer. Like, Pierce is an all-time great player, but like, the trajectory that Tatum is on as a player, you start adding titles to that mix, and yeah, I mean it gets fun. It gets atmospheric pretty quick.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. These are only the first few pages of the story. Now he has to write the rest.
He has to do it. Yeah,
he has to do it. And
that's the thing. We can talk about it till we're blue in the face in the off season, which is what we do. But
that's what we do because we're here all the time.
Right.
I guess my final point, and not to push this too long, but Pierce knows the sacrifice of, hey, I was an elite scorer. I was the guy. Like I was the guy carrying this team, and I understand like the step back I needed to take to make these other guys better, and maybe part of Tatum's ascent is understanding like taking a tiny step back in the sense of like for Tatum at this age and at this stage of his career, sacrifice might only mean like 3-4 possessions in a game, but those could be 3 or 4 important possessions in a game where maybe you got to let Jaylen Brown cook. Maybe you got to step back and say, I could take this guy off the dribble and try to find my shot. And you could say that's, hey, I'm just trying to help the team by scoring a bucket. But why not find the open guy 2, 3, 4 times, especially in the first half, especially early in the season, get those guys going, because if you can get them doing this stuff for you, like, like if you're doing this stuff for them early, they'll do stuff for you later. And like, I think Pierce understands that from having gone through what he went through and how long it took. It's all right. I don't want to belabor the point, but the potential for the lessons that Pierce can teach Tatum is great. And there are probably many that we haven't even touched on.
Now, next up, he's got to work out with Jaylen Brown to talk to Jaylen Brown about having everybody in Boston want you traded, because that's right. That's the parallel right there.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening. Thanks, Tom Westerholm.
Appreciate you.
You can follow him on Twitter where he doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, do that.
Thanks, Tom.
Appreciate you, man.
And I appreciate all of you for listening, for sticking around through a wild off season. It's early September. We're in the first week of September already, which means end of September, basketball is back. We're back to 5 days a week in a couple of weeks, getting you ready for the Celtics season, getting you ready for what could be a huge, huge year for Boston. This really has the potential to be special. So we'll be here for you every day throughout the course of the season, after every game. So I say 5 days a week. Some weeks could be 6. Some weeks could be 7 days a week. So make sure you're subscribed on your favorite podcasting app. Watch the show on YouTube. Ring the bell to get notified when I drop a video. And if you're an everyday listener, an everydayer, man, I love the fact that you're so committed. Thank you so, so much. I love the support. Would love it now if you shared the podcast and spread the word. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell everybody that they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.